Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully, everybody had a really good trading session today. We want to kind of go over some basics of the system because a lot of people, I don't know if they're utilizing our system and taking, advantage of everything that we provide because there's a ton of value. We really want to help traders get better and through developing their edge and tracking their data. That's how you do it. You got to really be in honed with your trading and who you are as a trader and trade within your framework and your psychology because that matters. So hello from the UK, thank you for joining us, I appreciate it. So we'll kind of kick this off. It's going to be a bit of a webinar presentation. We'll get into the system and we'll get into how to tag a trade, how to pre-set up a trade, like stocking a trade, trade ideas, as well as kind of dig into some of the other panels that maybe people aren't generally using right now. So um, let me go ahead and start off with the first slide here. So, the basics of real-time journaling, what we mean by that is like there's a ton of tools that we offer that not a whole lot of people, I don't think, utilize, at least to the extent they should be, because it really does help you hone your edge. And not only that, but improve you as a trader and lets you see what's working, what's not working, and you're not just throwing darts, at a dartboard in the dark. Um, so it's super important. So that's kind of what the primary focus of this entire thing will be. We'll open it up for questions at the end. I'm going to try to get through most of this and kind of teach you how to use a platform, what we really intended things to be used for, and how it actually provides value to the traders. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm super stoked to have everybody on board with us at TFD. We really appreciate it. All right. So importance of journaling, kind of already talked about it. So journaling, look, it plays so many different factors. Even if you're not using our system, that's fine. Just journal, either on Excel spreadsheet or on a piece of paper, whatever it is, just do the work because that work is so important to getting better as a trader. Because look, trading's such a weird thing because it really doesn't give you positive reassurance or positive feedback when you do good stuff, right? You actually generally get negative feedback when you do good things. Like you took the trade that you're supposed to take, you followed your plan, you followed your risk, and then the trade stops you out, right? So now you're looking at your P&L and you're going, oh man, I didn't do very well. But in reality, you did exactly what you're supposed to do as a trader, right? On the flip side, you could average into a trade. You could take a trade outside of your plan. You could basically be gambling, and the market comes along and rewards you for your gambling behaviors. So now you're getting positive reassurance, positive enforcement on really bad behaviors. So through journaling, this is how you identify and hone yourself to continuously grow as a trader, to actually see and track the metrics, to show that you're actually getting better. And it's not through that negative weird feedback loop that you get when you're just purely looking at your P&L, right? You're not always going to realize the growth that you're actually making and getting and achieving, right? So we're going to get into some of the basics of our journaling, get into how to do it and all that other stuff. So with our journaling, it's totally baked into our experience. And the whole point of what we started building, we actually started with building all this stuff first, right? Most companies, they kind of get a product, they figure out how they're going to market it, and they really focus on the marketing. We didn't really put any focus in the market. We put zero. We didn't even have a website at first. We put all of our effort into the dashboard because we knew that would add the most value for traders. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not just saying stuff, we're just trying to prove it through what we're developing and our actions, right? So we'll get into the next thing, which is a trade routine. And this is kind of how you want to start off your day. And why having a routine is so important, because with a routine you develop habits, and through habits you develop really good risk management, good trading, good psychology, and you're becoming very self-aware, right? It's very important as a trader, or even trading is very similar to like professional athletes, right? You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Conditional emotional conditions are going to impact your trading. And through tracking those emotions, for instance, anger or greed or lack of confidence, we then, with our data panels, and you as a trader can dig into it, be like, hey, I noticed every time I'm angry from the day before, I take trades outside of my plan. And now that you know that data, which you probably weren't self aware of before tracking this stuff, you can actually, one, see how that data impacts your trading over longer term, which we'll get into later. But you're also able to create things, triggers, or conditions that, or steps or interrupts, whatever you want to call it, to help you avoid making those same mistakes, right? And that brings up another really good point with trading is you're you're trading with a bunch of people, but it's a very isolated situation, right? You're not trading generally with a group of buddies, and if you are, they're not acting as like not a mentor, but somebody that's overseeing how you're trading. So the accountability is not there, right? So you have to be accountable to yourself, and as you know, as well as I know, being accountable to yourself is really hard because you can kind of cut corners and you can cheat, not fill out what you should be filling out, and no one's going to say anything. You don't have a boss, right? So with these systems being implemented the way we have them, it kind of is helping you stay accountable to yourself, right? And giving you the tools that you need to actually succeed long term and not just be one of those, one, be a statistic and be one of those, people that fail, right? And having those tools is going to help you get better and better and being accountable to yourself so you're not a statistic and you can actually be long-term sustainable and not just pass an assessment, right? Passing an assessment is such a small part. So let's dig into the actual platform. Let me switch it over real quick. And so cool. So when you get to the trade desk, and the way we developed the trade desk was like, hey, look, even if you're not trading with TFDX or if you're trading with Rhythmic and your platform isn't integrated, you can still have this panel up. You can still have the website up, and that's the point. Is we want it to be up at all times because look, you're going to get really important information. One, right here, it's giving you a calendar. It's going to show any trades that you've taken, and it's going to show you any major news events. And news is super important, as you know, and it's going to show you what the news is, if it's high impact, medium impact, low, etc. And you can filter those out. I generally only leave the high impact stuff because that's really what's going to move the market is the high impact. So you can filter all that stuff out, and this is part of the daily check-in, right? You have everything at your disposal that you need to build a really good habit and routine in the morning. And what we just recently added, and I don't know if everybody knows about this, but this is your trade routine. And of course, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. We actually allow you to opt out of it. So you can just click it, opt out. Now it's gone, right? Now you can just focus on your goals each day. But we'll go ahead and turn this back on. And once you get started, the thought process behind this was like, hey, psychology plays such a big role, and there's tons of studies on it with professional sports, right? And I would say trading is probably closest to like gambling in the sense like card playing, right? Because you are as a card player, you're using statistics to your advantage to let an edge play out for you, and then you're risking appropriately per hand, right? That you're doing because statistically that hand is more likely to win. So maybe you're going to play a little bit more, play aggressive. You can also bluff. You can't really do that in trading, but it's all part of, you know, what you are trying to accomplish, right? You are a professional athlete, so you need to stay in that mindset that look, one, I don't care who you are. You could be the best athlete in the world, like Mahomes, right? He had an off game during the Super Bowl, right? Doesn't mean as a bad person. He just had an off game. And if that had to do with maybe he was anxious, for hold on a second. So if he was anxious or something for the game, or he kind of lacked the confidence or whatever, right? That's going to impact his play as a player. And he's not going to play to the level that he normally plays. Maybe he had a lack of sleep, so he's sleepy, right? But going back to trading, those same components play a role in who you are as a trader and how you perform on the day, because not each day you're going to perform the same, especially if you're like a scalper and maybe you use a little bit more intuition when you're trading versus more of like a systematic trader. But even with a systematic system, you may trade worse if you have a certain emotional feeling, right? Let's say you had an argument with your wife the night before, you got bad sleep, and you're angry, right? Now you're tagging this to let yourself, one, be self aware of like, hey, I need to be aware that I am angry today. I need to be aware I'm sleepy today. Both these things can have a significant impact on me as a trader, right? And now through what we're encouraging through this habit and through this structure is now you can go back and look at the data and be like, hey, on days that I'm tired or days that I'm sleepy, I don't perform very well. And this is giving a precursor to let you know before you even start trading on the day to watch out for those things. So that's what the emotional check-in is for. Neutral, fearful, confident, all the different emotions that we believe, and we can always add more that we believe impact your trading. So once you do that, you're kind of checking in, and then we kind of give you a quick self-awareness check-in as well. But this, as you know, there was news today, but we're letting you as a trader, one, identify that there's news, right? We're asking this question to make sure you realize there's news today, because I can tell you when I trade on news days, I don't perform very well. I know that. And it's important for me to notify, like be self-aware that there is news today. So if you are clicking yes, one, what that's doing in the back end is it's tracking if you were aware that there was news or not aware there was news, right? And what you can do in the analytics in the back end is look at every single day that has news and sort it by that condition. And if you sort every single day that has news and you realize that your win rate drops by 20%, maybe you should cut out those news days, right? That's how you start honing you as a trader, honing your edge, understanding what makes you tick as a trader and how you get better and what doesn't work for you as a trader. Because a lot of things don't work for you as traders. And it seems like, you get this weird confirmation bias where you continue to take those trades because the one time it did work, it seemed great. And you felt that like emotional high from it. And then 15 other times it doesn't work at all, right? So this is how you track it and cement it and visualize it through data to really show you what's working, what's not. Market bias. So this is more for like, look, I will come into a day and view the market. I'll look at the structure of the market today, for instance, very good example. We had like a huge move down on a 5-minute candle, right? Huge. So my expectation is, look, we just had some pretty aggressive downward move. Maybe we'll get a pullback. That pullback could offer an opportunity for a short, depending on what system you're trading. But when I viewed the market this morning, I saw the NQ. Anyways, let me tell you which market. The NQ today, I felt was bearish, right? Why this is important is, look, I in the past I would go into a market and see that the market was heading higher. It looked obviously like it was very bullish or bearish, right? Doesn't matter which way it's going. And I would in the morning be like, hey, I need to be looking for longs. And then through the day, I would catch myself shorting the market if it was really bullish because I'm like, oh, no, 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 it needs to turn here. It needs to turn here. And I would catch myself in a trend going higher instead of just getting in on a pullback to ride along with everybody else that's going higher, right? So what this helps you do is it identifies in the morning where you believe the market was heading. If it's bullish, if it's bearish, if it's more of like a neutral market, and it lets you break it down into each market. So let's say it's the CL, and the CL today is actually more neutral. It's kind of rotational, right? So now I'm able to tag each market and I'm able to identify in the data later on that, like, look, every time I think the market is bullish, I end up shorting it. Like, I don't get it, right? And now you have the data to prove to yourself, like, stop doing that. Stop trying to short a market that's obviously in a bullish sentiment. And I even identified as bullish, right? Or it helps you identify if, let's say on the ES today, I'm kind of like, I don't know, right? Now you're able to actually track if you're unsure what the market's doing, right? This is all really good data to know, and it helps you build a plan on the day on what to do, what to expect, And it's all about the process. And the process is more important than actually taking the trades themselves, right? If you don't have a really good process, you don't have a really good plan, you're never going to find any consistency in trading, and you're going to be fighting an uphill battle at all times. You're going to take, one step forward and 15 back, right? It's all about process, because the trades are really going to do what they're going to do. I don't care who you are as a trader, how great you are, you can't control the outcome of any one trade, right? What you can do is play the long-term statistics. And if you're not controlling each day and making sure that one day doesn't get out of hand, you're never going to allow your statistics to play out and your edge to play out. And that's why it's important to kind of find a structured way to look at the market every day, a structured way to approach the day every day, and build a system around that has warnings, and it has things built in to let you know when maybe you won't perform well, when you're going to perform really well, and when to press, when not to press. And all that is through data, not just guessing. It's through data. Then going through it just gives you your self-awareness. It gives you some hints. It's not anything game changing, but reminder: trading requires mental sharpness. It does. And can consider maybe reducing your size today, right? It's just giving you some hints, and you can either follow them or not. It's up to you. We're just really trying to help traders get better, and that's through process. That's where we see most people improve, and it's through process. The best traders I know journal. You don't have to use our system. It doesn't matter. Use any system that you feel comfortable. Piece of paper, a pen and pencil. Like I have my journal. We have a journaling system, and we kind of based it off some research that we did on what works for journaling, what doesn't. And I do both this, and I do our internal system for journaling. Something about pen to paper or pencil to paper, however you do it. For me, it adds another layer. But I also I tag all my traders or setups in our trading system, because without tagging, you're really not going to get any use of our system, right? You got to tag your stuff. And we'll go through how to do that. Next is, start your daily journal. You could say, hey, today, hold on a second. Today, I feel a bit tired. I know when I'm tired. You get the point. I don't want to spend too much time doing this, but you put little notes for yourself that you can look back into and look at it and be like, hey, I knew I was tired, and because of that, I actually reduced my size today, and I saved myself from, blowing up an account or getting into tilt or something like that. This is all part of the process of getting better. All right, so now you have your daily goals. You can set up a new daily goal. It's super easy. If you have a goal already, you can select it, and now it's selected, right? You can see it's check marked. It's going to add this daily goal today, and goals are great. So let's say today I came in tired, and today my goal is going to be size down risk, right? I am tired. I need to reduce my size to reduce my risk. So now I have this daily goal that I can track, I can look at it, and you can come up with all kinds of different interesting ways to use your daily goals. It's just setting goals is super important, because it gives you something to work on, right? Sometimes your P&L isn't going to reflect how well you did as a trader, right? You could have two different traders. You could have one trader that made $1,000 in a day, and then another trader that lost $200 on the day, right? And on the surface, that trader that made $1,000, oh man, he killed it. But in reality, no, he averaged into those trade. He took way more trades than he was supposed to, and he gambled. And the other trader followed his plans to the T, took only his setups, and stopped at his max risk on the day, which was $200. That's his own risk he set. That trader over long term, I don't care what any one day tells you, that trader over long term is going to perform well better than the guy that made the $1,000. That's just how trading works. You have to let the data guide you. You have to let the statistic, whatever advantage you have in the market, your edge, you have to let it play out, and you have to protect your downside risk. So going back into the daily goals and this, now we're going to get into like a summary, right? It's just a breakdown, and it stays on the page now once you're done with the prep. So now you're going to have the summary of what today is and what you should be thinking about, and kind of your mental state, what markets, how you felt about those. You set your goal on the day, and this is great. And now you can go down here to the daily journal, and you can see that I have some notes in here already, and then I can come down and say, like, trade one, I'm bullish. Or actually, let me put this up here. Actually, so let's say I'm bullish on NQ, and actually I'm bearish. I'm sorry, bearish on NQ today because of the move lower. And then I'm prepping for my first trade. Let's say I'm stalking, I'm stalking a level. Let's look here. So we had this move lower. It looks like it held higher low, higher low. So let's say I got into this first trade, I got stopped out. Now I'm trying to enter another trade here. And again, this isn't advice to take a trade. This is purely for presentation purposes. Like, do not take trades, right? So, this is where you would start thinking about and creating a plan on the day of what you're actually going to trade. And we actually added a section here where you can create a new idea. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, so let me get back to the presentation. So we kind of got through the daily check-in. You get into all the different components of the daily check-in. We walked you through all that, and I kind of gave you the reason behind all of what the thought process was for the daily check-in, and we're always open to improving it. If you think you have an idea that can make it better, man, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your thought process on how we can make that process better and what you'd love to see in it. We have a really on-point development team. They're always looking to make things better and improve things and make it more streamlined for traders. So if you have any suggestions, pop in and let us know. So let's get into the setups and the tags. And in this, we can go ahead and, right now I'm using TFDX. You can use this with any of the supported platforms, through Rhythmic or TFDX. It just depends on what you want, but let's go ahead and get this thing minimized and get to the planner. Now we're going to change the way the planner works pretty soon, and it's going to be more focused on, like, I think, setups and like trade plan. So we're going to be changing this section, but all the same things are going to take place. So let's go ahead and configure a setup. And we're also going to be changing the way that you configure a setup too, to make it a little bit easier, more streamlined. Because I think, right now when you jump into it, you don't realize you can add rules and triggers and some other stuff to it because you just see this stuff. You got to click back into it. So we're going to change this up a little bit. So let's say we'll just say breakdown short, right? Breakdown short. That's the setup name. I'm not saying to trade it, but this is how you would create a setup. You go to the planner, you'd then go to the setup, you create a new setup. You can then color it. Say I want turquoise. I want, say we want this logo, and then I create the setup, right? Now it's created, and you can see it's here, right? This is what I was talking about. So we're going to make some changes to this where you don't have to click back into it. This is all done in one step. So now we can add our first category or rule, right? So we're going to call this no trades, or wait for 9:30. This is a rule that we have. So now we have a rule, and this, we can basically say wait until 9:30, and oh, that was renaming it. Let's add the rule to it. Or actually, I'm sorry. This is actually called rules. We'll rename it. And then I'm going to add the rule to it. So wait for 9:30. So based on stats, I know I should not be trading until after 9:30, right? And then the second rule is wait for a 5-minute candle close before entry. Oh, I totally messed that up. Sorry. So delete that. Go back to this. and we're actually reworking this. This is one of the reasons is it's not straightforward as we'd want it to be. So we're actually working on it now to make it a little bit easier, more streamlined. So the next rule is actually going to be wait for 5-minute close, right? So here's the rule for 5-minute close. These are some of the rules, and we'll just keep it simple for now. And then we'll create another category. This one will be take proper risk. This is now a new subset of a category. And now I'm going to add a rule to this to say 150 max risk per trade. And now this is a subset of the rule, right? So now that we have all that, you can just click out of it, and now this is here, and it has all these rules, and you can see that everything's set up here, right? So that's how you add a setup, and you can continue to add setups here. You keep adding new ones, but now that we've set one up, we'll go ahead and get into the tagging. So tagging is pretty cool, and it lets you filter the data and basically, one, tag positive things, and two, tag negative things, and three, tag kind of like not necessarily a good or a bad thing. So for instance, I have volume burst. So let's say this is something that you started noticing as a nuance in like order flow. You're like, hey, when I see a volume burst or a reload of like on the bid, then I'm going to notate it as like a neutral thing because it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, but I want to track every single time I see a reload on the bid or on the ask or whatever, right? So this is a way to add tags and utilize them in a way that you're able to look at the data. And through looking at the data, you can figure out, okay, well, every time I see this, does it add any extra correlation or confluence to my main setup? Like when I'm looking at a breakdown short and then I see a volume or reload, does that indicate that potentially we're going to go lower, right? You can start tracking these nuances through configuring tags. And it's a pretty cool thing. Or let's say you ended up over risking on something. You took too much risk. Let's say I said 150, but I took $200 risk, and you notice that every time you over risk, or most of the time you over risk, it's when you have a lack of sleep. And now you're finding these nuances in the data, and we'll look into the data later on. But that's what you kind of do with the tags. You can come with all kinds of different interesting ways to look at the tags, and the tags just let you sort the data a different way. And it's really, really beneficial. Then you can see you can set more goals in here. And as I said, we're going to be changing this around a little bit more. So it's more streamlined purely for like your playbook, right? Instead of being like a planner, it's going to be more playbook oriented. You're going to have like breakdowns of your strategies, what the win rates are and stuff like that. And it's going to be more focused on that. And we're going to get rid of all this here. So that's in the works. That's going to be coming out soon. Let's get into the next slide here. So we talked about the setups, we talked about the tags. So next is going to be the trade ideas, and we kind of touched on that a little bit. We'll get into getting ready to stock our trade that we were talking about, right? So we're going back to the trade desk, which is here, right up here, and now we're stocking the trade. So I'm going to go ahead and bring out my chart. We're stocking a short trade, and now that I have an idea of what I want to do, I want to short. I'm going to go ahead and enter a new trade idea. And through this trade idea, as you can see, it's on this panel here, and we can actually add more than one, can actually add multiple. But as you can see, I have one active trade idea. And the idea behind this was, look, when you're stocking a trade, you want to be able to, one, kind of maybe notate and tag nuances like, hey, I started seeing a speed up on the tape, or, are my rules met for this particular trade I'm stocking, right? So on this, you would go ahead and go to the setup and say breakdown short. That's what I'm stocking, right? So now I can look at the rules and be like, okay, I'm stocking this trade. Is it after 9:30? Yeah. Okay. Am I waiting for the 5-minute candle to close? And keep in mind, this is for demo purposes. Let's say yes, right? I waited. And now, did I take proper risk? Well, I haven't actually executed the trade yet. So let's go ahead and execute a short here.
Order field.
Do 3. And, my stop, this is not the correct stop. As you can see, it's a $2,000 stop. That's not real. But let's say I did it, right? And now I'm in the trade. You can see the trade popped in here. And now that I've done this trade idea, I've taken the trade, I can now apply my trade idea down here. And now I apply it, my rules are met, the trade has been tagged. And it seems like it's a little bit slow right now. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not applying. Interesting. There it goes. So it applied the trade over here. It lagged a little bit. I'm not sure why. We will look into that. But now I'm in the trade. Let's say the trade worked out. And I'll go ahead and
Order field.
Oh my gosh, I made $75. Let's say, I'm going to tag this trade and I felt a bit of FOMO. I way over risked, right? So my risk was way over. So I tagged both the things that I messed up on. And I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and say, hey, I waited. Great job on that. I felt FOMO, but controlled it. I took way too much size. I exited once I realized, right? So this is the purpose of the journaling, is to keep notes and keep a running log of what you did for each trade. And then you can go into your primary journal right here and kind of talk about the first trade, trade one. I tracked the setup, waited for entry, felt FOMO. Or I could just say C notes, right? Now I don't have to do double the work. Or you could even copy and paste. And then you could also, once you took the trade, you're done with it, go ahead and take a screenshot of it, say, okay, cool. Just go ahead and post that in. And now I have the trade, I have what I did. And it's like really about note taking and identify what you're doing. And then what's important is tagging, at the very minimum, tagging your setups. And you don't have to do the pre-trade stuff, okay? You don't have to do that. You can literally not use the pre-trade stuff and you can just tag a trade after you take it, right? That's what's important to do. So let's say I'm done with this trade. So I'm just going to jump into another one. Let's reduce the size a little bit and we'll say
Order
and
field.
sell again. And you're going to see the trade's going to pop in. And once the trade's in here, I don't have to apply a trade. I don't have to do anything. I can just go here and tag a trade, right? I can just sit here and say, you know what, good with that. I'm gonna go ahead and tag it. It's now tagged. I can add, I have my rules to make sure it's there. And let's just say that's all I want to do on the
Order
trade.
field.
Well, the good thing is, come on. I think that's why. I have a plugin installed and I think it's interfering. So the good thing about that is you don't actually have to, put notes. Honestly, that if all you do is tag your setups, that is basically the most crucial thing you can be doing, because once we get into it, you're going to see the analytics are so important for you to hone your edge and to really get an idea of what's working, what's not working, what setups work, what setups don't. And that's how you build consistency. That's how you get better. You cut out the bad stuff, you keep doing more of the good stuff. And through our panel, you're able to do that. So let's go ahead back into the slideshow. So now that we've tagged a trade, we're done for the day. We did our setup. We stocked the trade. We got everything ready. Now we're in closing out the day, and this is what's important in closing out the day. Is let's say we're all done with the day, and let's go ahead and close out the day. So all you do is click close out the day. It pulls in all of your trades and all that other stuff. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So in the trade analysis, the conclusion of your day, the point of concluding your day is to make sure, one, you got all the process done, and you're basically tagging all your setups. So if you don't tag a setup, it's actually gonna give you a reminder, right? And I can show you this. So we'll just go to this one, we'll delete that, and now that trade isn't tagged. So let's go back to closeout. And now you can see, hey, by the way, you didn't tag this trade, track your trades, right? So if you go here, now I can go and set the setup. Let's say it's the breakdown short, close it. Now it's not giving you the warning anymore. It's letting you know, right? And it's giving you a quick breakdown of your hourly performance, your behavior analysis, and maybe it's going to give you some little tips and stuff. And then the next thing is your self-grading. So with trading, and we already talked about this, is it's really hard to determine when you're doing better and when you're doing worse, especially if all you're looking at is your P&L all the time, right? P&L is such a bad metric to look at when you're trying to determine who you are and how you're doing as a trader. Because as I mentioned before, you could do really bad at trading and the market's going to come and give you a big fat stack of cash, right? And then you could do really, really well and the market comes in and basically hits your DLL on the day, right? Your max daily. And you're like, what the heck, man? What how do I identify when I'm doing good? How do I identify when I'm doing bad? Like, this is how you do it. Self-grading. And now you're grading your performance not on your P&L, but on your actual performance as a trader, because you could have literally a working strategy. You could have the best strategy in the world, but if you put a bad trader in that strategy and he doesn't trade it well, or his psychology doesn't match the strategy, he's going to perform really well or poorly, right? And then you could have the adverse where you have a mediocre strategy, but the trader knows how to trade. He knows how to take losses. He knows what to do, right? And that trader could kill it in that strategy. That's why we're trying to break people away from focusing purely on P&L and focus on the process, focus on self-grading, focus on things you actually control as a trader, right? You don't control the outcome of any one trade. I don't care who you are. You could be this savant of trading. You don't know where that trade is going to go. Your edge plays out over long-term statistics. And if you're not trading your edge correctly and you're getting in the way of your edge by doing stupid stuff like adding in on a loser, taking too much risk, just doing boneheaded stuff, you're never going to let your edge play out. It's just not going to work. You're going to find a lot of inconsistency in your trading. So by focusing on the correct things like performance, right? You as a trader, what you actually control. How well did you adhere to your plan today? Let's say I did really great. I only took trades inside my plan. My execution was great. I got into trades pretty much exactly where I was supposed to get in. I could have got in about a tick or two better. So I got about a 90%. Risk management today, I got really bad risk management. And let's say I did about 60%. I did really bad in that area. Emotional control, I had some, but I didn't let it impact my trading. So next, I've graded myself on the day. And this is up to you to use your good judgment on how you felt you performed as a trader. Don't cheat this, don't cut corners, grade yourself appropriately, right? And now that we're going to the next, this allows you to give yourself a final grade on the day. And then what it does is through this, each day, you're grading yourself based on things you control as a trader. You're not grading yourself on how big of a P&L you got, how much you lost on the day. All you're grading yourself is how well you actually traded, right? Because that's the only thing you control. You don't control the outcome of a trade. You only could control when you got in, how much risk you took, did you follow your plan, did you adhere to your plan, and did you let your emotions get in the way of you? And through that, what you're going to see through the statistics over long term, right? One, you're going to get to see your P&L and how that interacts with your daily check-in, and you're going to be able to see when you don't do very well on, as a trader, what does that do to your P&L? Or if you can actually filter out just your emotions, you can filter out your risk management when your risk is on point or isn't on point. You can filter all these things out and then overlay your P&L to it. And what that will do over long term is you can see how when you follow your plan, your P&L over longer terms and periods of time actually continues to go higher, right? It's not so in the moment, right? We're trying to get people to zoom out and look at a higher elevation view of what they're doing. Because any one day you could be bad at trading. Any one day your strategy doesn't work, right? But if you zoom out and look at the data over a larger time period, over a bigger, higher view, you're going to see you improving. You're going to see how your P&L is going to continue, to slowly work its way higher, right? That is trading. That is what you control as a trader. So it's really important to look at this stuff and do this stuff every day. If you don't put in the work, you're never going to get any. I shouldn't say never. It's going to be really hard for you to find consistency long term beyond just passing assessments, right? You can get lucky and pass an assessment. To be long term sustainable in a brokerage requires putting in the work. And we've really tried to make the work easy, and we try to make it very process oriented. And that really comes down to the founder, one of the founders, being very process driven in developing processes for the federal government, for local law enforcement agencies, and Fortune 50 companies, right? That's all he does is works on process. And that's why I think we've been able to build things that should help traders get better, not just offering them some better deal on an assessment. That doesn't push the boundaries for a trader. It doesn't push the needle to make them any better. The stuff we've actually made and developed helps push you to be better. And that's how we get people to the end goal of being consistently profitable long term. So let's jump back into the slideshow. And closing out the day, we talked about that. Reports. So let's jump into the reports, and we'll give a quick overview of kind of what you can look at in the reports, how it can benefit you, and how you should utilize the reports. So let's get out of the day. Let's go ahead and complete. And as you can see now, here's all the breakdowns. Here's what we have. And you can see now we have a grade on the day, right? And if you want to get back into it, you just click it and it gives a quick overview of what your day is. Let's see if I have any other days that I tagged. I don't. Yeah, I have a D here. And I think I was just randomly putting this in there. I don't know. I missed a trade, and I could actually, even going back, this is weeks or a week ago, right? You can go in here and say, hey, maybe I remembered it was a gap trade, right? So we'll jump in here and tag it, and now it's been tagged, and now this little red area is gone, and now it's green. So all is great in the world. So let's go back to the day. So today we're on today's, and let's go into reports. Now, reports is kind of where all the magic happens, right? The reports lets you filter the data to figure out what's working and what's not working. And without tagging your trades and your setups, you don't get to use the data, right? So for instance, here, if I'm just looking at my testing, it breaks down now all of my testing. I have 100% win rate and Sharpe ratio. And this is all, it's really not good data because it's just test data. And once you add your data in here, and the more you add, the better it's going to get for you. Trust me, the more data you collect, the more you tag setups, the more you're going to figure out what's working, what's not working, when it works, when it doesn't work. And it's so crucial. So you can see I can sort by all the setups or just some of the setups. It's super easy to sort everything. It just makes everything very streamlined and easy to dig through. So let's look at the breakdown short. Actually, let's look at the gap, and let's look at the data. It gives you an annual return. It gives you all that stuff. It shows your streak, how many trades in a row were successful, how many losing trades we had. It shows the overall P&L. It shows when I took the trades, and it shows your average winner, your average loser, and it can show you pretty much everything, right? And then you can get into all the gap trades that I took by going through these filterings over here. And it's only showing my gap trades. It's showing when I tagged them, when I didn't tag them. I can go into the day of the week, show performance the day of the week. And day of the week actually matters in certain setups. When you're trading it, time of day matters, right? It matters in the data. And if you track it, you're going to find nuances in your data that are going to allow you to hone your edge. What I mean by that is if you see when you trade a gap setup on Mondays, It doesn't work. It's like it drops the win ratio to 40%, and your normal win percent is 70%, right? So now you know that, hey, maybe I should just cut out Mondays and not trade on Mondays of this particular setup. Not to say not trade at all, but this particular gap setup just doesn't work on Monday. So now you are adding by subtracting, right? You're subtracting setups, but you're getting better results by doing so. And this is how you start to hone your setups and get better at the what you're good at and cut out what you're not good at, what works and what doesn't work. And now you're not just feeling around in the dark and guiding yourself based on confirmation bias, right? You're actually looking at data that drives your decision making, right? So you can look at monthly, you can look at time of day, and this is set it dependent. So I can unclick it, look at all, I can look at just testing, I can look at just daily, I could say gap and then show me forward plan. So like you can filter all this stuff out. You can look at grade, show me all my days with B grades. And it will show you all the just literally all the setups. If you had a B grade, it's only 1 day and 2 trades, but it will show you how you did, and it can show you the overview on that. Like the filtering that we offer, it literally helps you define and hone your edges. Like this is beyond what most people do. Like they just enter trades and they're not looking at the data, and the data is so important to really give you the edge. And this is what people need to be looking at if they want to get better. And you can look at trade volume, you can sort it by pretty much anything you want. It's amazing, this type of stuff. And then you can go into our trade simulator, and this is great because look, you can now, by filtering out certain stuff, see what your P&L actually should be if you cut out all the dumb stuff you do, right? So let's say on a trade, and unfortunately my data is not great, let's say I cut out all 9 o'clock trades, right? This is your P&L if you cut out all your 9 o'clock trades, right? This is your projected P&L. This is current simulated, current all trades, right? And it lets you see if you filtered out. And unfortunately, my data is not the best. So let me figure out a way to visualize this better. Okay, no setup, right? Let's filter all plus no setup. Okay, so this is better. So now I've clicked all of them, and this is all the setups. And now this is if I add with no setup, right? With setup, all only setups, and then without. So simulated would be here. My P&L should actually be up here instead of down here. So if I cut out the no setup trades, which there's 7 trades, I would actually have a higher P&L, right? This is the way you utilize it. So without, right? So this is trading no setup. You can see the P&L actually gets better if I got rid of these no setup trades, right? That's the point of this system, is to be able to filter and look at what works, what doesn't work, and filter out the bad traits. And that's how you hone your edge and you get better. And this is the way to visualize that. Unfortunately, I don't have the best data for this, but at least this gives you an overview of what we're trying to establish, what we're trying to show, right? Let's get back into the next tab. And I don't want this to last too long. We have some more slides to get through. So we'll get back into, why TFD. This I'm going to make very quick. This starts off with what we actually built, and look at our primary focus. We focused on the data, the analytics process. How do we make traders better, right? This isn't through, we're going to let you reset 15 times a day, or we're going to let you have 20 accounts. That doesn't help a trader. That helps gamblers, maybe, to play the gambling assessment system, but it's not actually going to help you be long-term sustainable. So if you look at what we've tried to build and where our morals lie, right, and our actions and what we've done as a company, we're trying to add value to the space. And that's what we're, I think, unmatched in, is our value we're providing to the traders. When you sign up with us, either through a practice account or through a full assessment, we're always trying to make ourselves available. I offer free coaching. We offer free coaching. Even if people don't have accounts with us, I am coaching people, right? I'm trying to help people in the space. We are trying to help people in the space. And that's through the tools that we're providing. We're not just trying to be a funding firm. We're trying to be an actual true prop firm. And we're going to do that through innovating, things in the space, providing extra tech, and doing more and more for the traders that we can, that focus more not necessarily on the assessments, but more on the process and how to get better, and adding better risk tools and risk management tools and better processes for maybe scalp traders or stuff like that. Like, we're always trying to figure out how to innovate and make things better for traders, not by purely, oh, we have a better assessment or we did this or that. It's like, no, 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 we're trying to add value through tools and building edges and stuff, because that's actually what matters in the long run once you get past the circus that is passing an assessment. So long-term success, how we achieve that is treating traders right, doing what's good for traders, not what's good for the bottom line, which would be not allowing traders to trade an account after they reset it, not allowing traders to trade more than 2 accounts. If we let traders reset 100 times in a day and have 20 accounts, yeah, that's great. That generates revenue, but how does that help the trader? It doesn't. It puts them in a vicious cycle of gambling, and they may have just lost. And I've met people that have literally gone on tilt and spent $3,000 or $4,000 in a day on resets. How does that help the trader? It doesn't. That hurts the person. They're gambling at that point, right? That's what we're trying to push ourselves in a different direction for, is we're putting those guardrails on traders to help them to stop gambling, because gambling is not trading. Trading is very systematic. It's very structured. It needs to be done that way, and it also needs to have accountability, or you're never going to have long-term success as a trader, right? That is what we're trying to develop. That's why we try to align ourselves with traders, not leaving people in sim environments, because if you're in a sim brokerage account long term through some of these underfunding companies, what happens is they change rules, they ban bonds traders, they do whatever they can, because look, you're cutting into their bottom line and they're not aligned with you. They're aligned with themselves, right? Where what we're trying to accomplish is be as quick as possible to get you into a funded brokerage account, so we can all be aligned together. Not to say we're misaligned when you're in an assessment, but ultimately we want you out of the assessment into a brokerage account so we can work together to get a better process, to hone your strategy, to basically make you a better trader, because we all profit when you're profitable, right? We're not in a situation where, oh my gosh, we hope this trader fails because he's up $100,000 in a live sim environment, right? We saw the outcome of what happens when people stay in live sim and the money shuts off. That's fast track trading, right? They stopped having people sign up, which means they couldn't pay the people that were making money in the live sim environment. They didn't have people in the brokerages. Their risk was uncapped. They approached it in a very poor manner, and that's why they failed. And that's why when we came along, we did everything different. We learned from their mistakes, and we're trying to push for long-term success. So live brokerage accounts, we already touched on that. Daily payouts, right? In these other firms, the reason they make you wait 14 days to get a payout, the reason is they're hoping you fail before they have to pay you, right? With us, once you're in the brokerage, you're in the brokerage. Like, that money's earmarked for you. You're trading our capital in our brokerage with our margins, and we want you to be successful. Please take out payouts. I encourage people to take payouts. If you just got past 2 accounts and you have $6,000 drawdown, dude, pay yourself a little bit, right? Take some of that money out, because look, it's going to help reduce some of the stressors that you're feeling in that account. And a lot of people have a ton of issues when they transfer to a live brokerage account or a live sim environment, because of the perceived toughness, the perceived emotional baggage that you get, right? I don't know why it happens, but it does happen. And when you pay out yourself a little bit of money, you take a little bit, and we have a better profit split now. We heard people. Now it's 80-20. Pay yourself a little bit. Reward yourself for making it through, and reward yourself for getting to that next step of being in the brokerage. And then try to do what you did before. Don't change anything. Keep doing what made you successful in the first place, right? We just changed some other rules, 1 reset per day, and we reduced the cost to $75. We understand our assessments are more expensive. So once you have an assessment, we want you to stay with us regardless of the price. All of our resets are $75 now. I think that helps to, feel that sense that you need to cancel and move elsewhere. Now you can just stay with us, reset that really expensive account, and just stay with us. Be with us long term. We want traders to grow and develop in our system and then get to the brokerage and then develop as actual traders. The profit split once you're in the brokerage account, that is going to be dependent on, the initial start is 80/20, but if you're killing it, you're making a ton of money, you're doing really well, then always that's negotiable. We're partners, so let's negotiate and make it fair. Actually, that kind of brings up another point. I don't know if people are aware, but if you perform really well through the assessment, we will move you straight to a brokerage. We just had a trader do that. He traded for 15 days. He had really good risk control. He did really good job of, limiting his loss days and, and making really good profit days. So at that point, we said, hey, don't worry about the live, buffer period. We're putting you straight into a brokerage account. We just literally did that. We announced it in Discord, and anybody that has good metrics, we will do that. Like, that is something we do. So next thing, advanced technology. This is, some of the stuff we already talked about, the real-time journaling, tagging setups. It's very, very, very crucial that you do this stuff. Like, it's the difference between a good trader and a bad trader. I'm telling you, it will change your trading if you do the work. It will literally change the way you trade for the better. Advanced analytics, we got into that, tracking your best setups, tracking your bad setups, tracking no setups. It's all the stuff you need to do. Trade routine, that's our daily trade routine. We already got into that. Coaching and support. Like I said, look, we want to help traders. If you find an edge in the market that's killing it, and edges sometimes work for a while and then they'll stop working, we're going to lean into that edge and we're going to give you as much support as possible. If that's through strategy development, through back testing things, using Assad, our whatever we can do to help a trader once they're funded, we are there to try to do that, right? The strategy and development is huge, right? We want people to come to us and ask for help with that stuff, right? We're here to help. And a lot of people stay quiet. They don't ask for help. We want people to ask us for help. Fast support, we're about ready to add another support person, I think. We're trying to keep support response times low. But we have families, we have things outside of this. So sometimes support times may be a little bit slower. Like right now, Asher's out of town. So we're trying to mitigate that and respond as quickly as possible. We care about that stuff. A lot of companies don't care. You're going to put in a support request. You're going to get an email back, 24 to 48 hours later. But that matters to us. And that's why we can basically advertise that as one of the things that you're going to get is you're going to get faster support because that is what we prioritize. Sorry. Free coaching. We talked about that. I offer coaching to people that don't even have accounts with us. Like, I just like helping traders. It's fun when I can help a trader and then, sometime after that, they actually get progress, right? They actually do better after the fact, after a coaching session. It brings value. It makes us feel good about what we're doing. We're not just, taking from the industry. We're actually trying to add to the industry. We're trying to help people. And we do that through our actions, not through what we say. So, you have the, tax and financial benefits. We have $19 test accounts. We just launched free test accounts for anybody that has accounts with us. The purpose of the test accounts is, one, if you're not ready to put real money on the line, then sign up for a practice account. Forward test what you're doing and make sure what you're doing is actually working, right? Our renewals, they start at $29. The point of a cheaper renewal is to encourage people to stick with it and encourage people not to feel rushed that they have to pass an assessment because they're about ready to have to renew at full pop, right? So most other firms, when your renewal comes, it's depending on what you paid. Generally, you're renewing at that full price. With us, it's like, no. We don't want people to rush through the assessment. Because look, if you're pushing and rushing through something, likely you're not trading your edge the way you should be. And that's what we're trying to get into people's heads is like, look, trading's going to be here for a long time. Your edge is going to play out over years, not days or weeks or months, right? You got to think about the long term and get away from this like being sucked up into the moment and think like, hey, how am I long term successful? And that comes down to getting into an account, practicing and making sure that everything works before you actually put real money on the line. It's getting into an account and knowing that you have time and not having to worry about the renewal coming up, right? The no funded setup fee, that's an option. So you could build an account with a lower upfront cost with some back end, or you pick it with a higher front end and no back end, right? You pass the account, you don't have to pay anything. And that's a feature where you can build it the way you want to build it. And that would be here if you go to new plan. So you can pick, it's eligible for funding. And at that point, see it says split payment. And you can basically decide if you want to lower upfront with a after assessment fee. So it's something we allow. We're running a really big promotion right now, 40% off. It's the biggest promotion we've offered. And all the benefits that we offer, it's here. So the challenge I want people and traders to have right now is I challenge people in our system or outside of our system, use pen and paper if you have to. Basically identify all your setups and tag all your setups. That's all you really need to do, and journal, right? Journal and tag your setups, because what we're going to do is next week when we have another webinar, we're going to pick a few people that are willing to share their data, and we're going to go into their data and figure out how to improve them as traders, right? And if they go through this process, because I know their data is intimate to them and it's private, we will then provide free accounts for them for sharing, right? And we're going to give them a credit in our system for encouraging them, for one, for getting better and sharing their weaknesses and sharing, what the work that they put in. And we're going to reward good behavior and incentivize it by giving them for sharing, probably like a $200 or $250 credit. So, we're going to use the stats that you collect. The more stats that you get, the better. So please, anybody that's interested, hit us up in Discord, hit us up after this, or email us at media@thefuturesdesk.com. And we will get you on stream next week. We'll go through your data, and we're going to do probably a $200 credit for anybody that wants to participate. You could be in our system right now. You could be in a practice account. It doesn't matter. Or you could just do it pen and paper. Like, let's go through the data. We would prefer that you're in either a practice or a assessment with us, because we can then dig into the data a little bit deeper and really try to hone your edge. And I think that's important. So that's our next webinar, kind of just talking about it here. Let's find your hidden strengths. Let's get through your data because it's important. And, this is just, I think, the last page of the presentation. I don't want to take too much more time, so let's jump into some questions. Let's do that next. So Raj, if you want to jump on and kind of start with the questions, I can go over any questions that anybody has. It can be questions regarding things that we already went over, questions that maybe you have unrelated to all this stuff, whatever questions. I'm here to answer those questions for you. I don't feel till after. Is this tilt? Could you clarify a little bit on that? Okay, so you're saying the daily check-in, you don't know how you're feeling until after your first trade? Yeah, so another thing you can do is you can, I guess, do the checkout and then go back in and leave that part out, right? And then while you're taking your first trade, you could actually create tags that are called like for emotions, and then tag your emotions during that trade. What's important to realize about, each trade. You understand there's like a sliding scale almost for your emotions, right? So trade one, you may feel really great. Trade two, if that first trade was a loser, you may feel a little bit different after the second trade. And what's important is for each trade you take, document how you're feeling, because one, it's going to allow you to figure out and identify tilt before it happens. And tilt could either be tilt in, you're being aggressive and making, really dumb decisions, but it's working out, or tilt in the way that you're performing poorly and you're just making that situation worse, right? So identify and track each trade independent. And if you feel like you need to do, sorry about that, my dog. So if you need to basically identify after the fact, you could do that. You can tag it after the fact. And it's really important to document that for each trade, because it's going to help you find the trigger, and it's going to help you stop from doing stupid stuff. Pretty much that's what it comes down to. Trading, because so I like the aspect before trading session, because simply slows me down and allows me to check in with, yes, that's the purpose of checking in the morning, is one, to be self-aware, right? And you can always do like a head-to-toe assessment, really determine how you're feeling. You can do that before, you can do that during the trade. And what you're going to find is you're going to see little nuances, either, maybe holding your breath, breathing rapidly, tense shoulders, leaning in. These are all things that you can notice in your body that you may not be self-aware of until it's too late. So it's really good to slow yourself down and check those things. So next question, too short. Okay, so this is something we talked about in the past. You're probably a scalper. You're in and out of trades very quickly. So we're going to probably develop something, and we've talked about it. It's just we're kind of bouncing around because we have so much stuff we're working on, but we're going to get there. And it's going to be a scalper mode where once you enable it, let me go back to, so once you enable it, which screen is this? Once you enable it, so let's say I'm in and out of trades a bunch, we'll probably break down your trades into like time slots. So you'll have like, you'll be able to pick like, hey, classify all my trades in the last 15 minutes. Let's say you have 15 trades as one trade, one idea, right? Or 30 minutes or an hour. Like we'll let you determine that. And when that scalper mode's enabled, it's going to just cluster all of your trades together into segmented times, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. And then it will let you tag all those trades as one setup. So you're not having to, tag like 15 different trades in the last 15 minutes, because that would become very tedious. So it's like group trades. We're working on that. We get it. It's for scalpers. Yep, scalper mode. Exactly. All right, next question. Agreed about the data. It's hard to synthesize. Why can't I talk? The data, even if you journal, people who are good at dashboards get paid money, but pinpoint process and valid process get paid bigger money. Yeah, so that's why, this week, or this coming up week on Wednesday, we're going to go through the data together to help people understand how to find it, how to look at the data, how to process the data. And then once we share that, hopefully you guys can be like train the trainer and teach other people how to use the system. And this is the first time we've really leaned into really trying to show people how to use the tools, because we felt like people weren't using the tools enough and they weren't getting the value from it as they should be. So next week we'll lean into that more. We'll get into the data. We'll figure out the best process for getting into the data and show people how to do it so they get more value from it. Yeah, so even with the limited amount of stuff I have in my dashboard, we can already find little nuances in it. The more data you collect, and that's part of doing the work, and I know it's not fun, No one wants to journal. One of the reasons we made journaling automated is like, look, I've had TraderView, I've had TraderSync, I've had almost all of the journaling stuff. And what I found is short term, it's really easy to do, right? You'll upload it, you'll remember, you'll tag everything, you'll do a diligent job of doing everything you should. But you're gonna have bad days, and on those bad days, you're gonna be like, I don't want to journal. I don't want to have to upload. I don't remember what I did. I don't want to tag this trade because it brings up those old memories of like, man, I had messed up that day, and I don't want to revisit those emotions, right? I don't want to revisit that trauma. So with our system, the point is like, do the work right when you're in the trade. One, it helps act as an interrupt, a logical interrupt to get you back into the logical thought process. One. Two, it helps you control and identify things before they become an issue. And it also lets you not have to go back and be like, what did I do here? What trade was this? What setup was this? What was I thinking? Because you're doing it right then and there, right? It's letting you actually look at all the stuff you should be looking at when it's in the moment, because that's the most time, like that's the most important time to be looking at it, right? Is when you're actually in the trade, when you're actually thinking about what got you into the trade. Like, let's say I got into the trade earlier in the day and I saw some nuances in the trade and I forgot to mention those. Well, in like any outside platform, you're going to have to remember that, and likely you're not going to remember it. You can only remember so much, right? And at the end of the day, it's not a good time to like really try to remember all the stuff you saw. It's really good if you're in the moment taking the trade to be like, as I'm in the trade,
Order
I'm
field.
getting along here. I'm like, oh, what I saw, I saw order flow that said I should get long. And now I'm actually documenting what's important in the moment, right? Not after the fact, not, an hour later, 2 hours later, or maybe I don't even do it because I got busy. But because it's so easy to do right then and there, you're actually going to do it. The data is so crucial, and we try to make it as easy as possible, and that was the point behind it. Next question. Yeah, so risk control, locking accounts, stuff like that, that's in development, early stages. We've talked about it. We want to do it. Rhythmic is going to be a little bit more tricky, just because how they handle stuff through like APIs and spreadsheets and weird. It's outside of my purview. We're going to be doing that. It's going to be planned in the future, because look, there's a huge advantage to proper risk management, locking yourself before hitting the daily loss. Because look, our daily loss limit, we don't want people using the daily loss limit as their hard stop. Like, it's too much risk. You're risking 40% of your account on any one day. Like, that's way too much. Like, you should never be risking 40% of your account in one day. The purpose of that is it's an emergency stop that should be utilized in emergencies, right? Not as your hard stop on the day. Yeah, so that's kind of talking on that. Yeah, we are going to develop it. I don't have a timeline. I can't give you any on that. Do we have any other questions? I think we're pretty much wrapped up. I don't want to make this too long, so I'll give one more opportunity to ask any questions. But other than that, we're going to wrap it up. Raj, did you want to add anything?
Order field.
No, I think we got everything covered. And next Wednesday at noon Eastern, we will see you guys here for another webinar.
Yeah, awesome. So if we have any volunteers, man, shoot us a DM or send us an email, whatever. Like I said, we'll be giving out a $250 credit to anybody that wants to volunteer. Please, the more data you collect, the better. I know it's work, but there's huge value in it. When you put in the work, you get value out of it. So please, anybody that can step up, that would be amazing. For review if we aren't utilizing. Yeah, that's more of like if you're hand doing all the data. But if you're interested in maybe participating and you want to grab like a week's worth of data, like from now until Wednesday, reach out to me in Discord, and maybe we'll just get you a test account. Um, if you're willing to do that, and we don't have other people willing to put their data out there, maybe that's a workaround. Um, we could just provide like a test account or something for free. So cool. I don't have anything else. Yeah. So if your bias changes during the day, just you could notate that in your actual journal, and you could take like a screenshot of what your bias was in the morning, and then change that bias later throughout the day. And that's something you could easily do through the journal. It's Notion, so I mean it's pretty similar to Notion, anyways. So you can kind of just tag stuff in there, copy images, stuff like that. So, for instance, you go back to the trade desk. Let's say here's what you felt earlier in the day. You could copy this, go to the journal. So you paste that in there. Now it's in here, and you can say, later in the day, the market shifted to bullish. I saw this at about 1,300 hours. Right? It's however you want to use it. I mean, the tools are there. Get creative, get inventive. However you want your workflow to go, arrange it that way. There's no perfect way. It's however you best um, understand the data and how best you can sort the data, right? But the primary thing, like the biggest thing for any trader to understand and take away from this is look, tag your setups. Bare minimum, put your setups in. If it's a setup, great. If it was a random trade, great. Tag it. Just create a setup called random trade or no trade or board trade or whatever you want to name it. Tag every single setup, because when you do and you look at the data, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, if I could just stop taking random trades, I would be very profitable right now. Like, that's all I got to do. That's all I got to do. And it's like a game changer. It is literally a game changer. So put in the work and you're going to see the results. This is the stuff that people don't do. And this is the stuff that's the most important in trading. It's not like there's tons of strategies that are profitable, tons and tons and tons. The thing that gets in the way is you're not focused on the process, you're focused on the P&L. You don't have a clear process every day. You change what you do every couple weeks because it didn't work for a couple days or whatever, right? That's the hurdle that most people are stuck on. You got to develop the process, trust the process, and stick to it, and collect the data and track your setups. And you're gonna find a lot of good things when you start looking at the stuff that you should be looking at. All right, cool. I think we'll wrap it up there. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. I think we're going to chop this up a little bit and turn it into some overview videos, which should be helpful for newer members with us. But please don't hesitate. Ask us, reach out to us, get on to support, whatever. If you have any questions, let us know. We're always willing to help people out on how to use the system, how beneficial it can be, and why it's important to use it, because there is an edge there in itself. So cool. Thank you.